Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. My name is Mitch Case. I will be your host today. I'm also the co-founder of More Than a Meal, where we help organizations strengthen their relationships with employees, clients, or just random people by showing gratitude and appreciation one meal at a time. I'm incredibly grateful for this show to continue on here in 2024. We've got a great row of guests coming up, but the main reason that I started this a handful of months ago was really to highlight individuals that are either owners, C-level, or even HR executives, and the initiatives and the hard work that they do day in and day out to talk about what makes their business truly more than a business. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that make them good leaders, good executives, and just overall good organizations. So we're going to continue to do that here in 2024, and excited to have our next guest come in here in just a little bit. But before we bring him on, I do want to shout out a thank you to True Captive. They are our sponsor, and they believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that isn't complicated. So if you ever want to learn more about this unique captive healthcare program, just go on over to their website at truecaptive.com. You can also reach out to me. I'd be happy to get you introduced with somebody over there. So we're incredibly grateful to have them continue to be a sponsor of the show, and just make a huge impact on the work that they do as well as this show. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get our guest on here in just a second. Our guest is Steven Hudspeth. Now, Steven's got a couple things going on just like myself, but he is the CEO of 360 Painting as well as TMO Turbo, which I'm excited to dive into a little bit on each of those companies, but more importantly, the leadership that he has within those organizations. So I'm going to let Steven do the rest of the introduction here, as he's going to be better at that than I am. So welcome, Steven. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me. So Mitch, I'm a serial entrepreneur, kind of like yourself. I know we had some fun talking about it, and
Oh yeah.
I'm running a paint company right now and a software company. Also, for fun, we do have a property investment company where we flip houses and put them together. I've tried several businesses that failed miserably, several. So, I've enjoyed the experience about being a business owner and really come to love and understand what business owners feel, what that day in and day like feels like for an entrepreneur. So, definitely really love those guys.
Yeah, well, I know we connected really quickly, just right on that phone call of just the journey that we've been on, and a lot of similarities, but ultimately really kind of honing in on having you on this show, a lot to do with kind of just your leadership style and how you've gone about building your businesses. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into it? We always start this show with an impact story. So maybe tell us a story that you've got on something that either you or one of your organizations has had a direct impact on a team member, a client, or potentially even a community member.
So one of the things we love to do is give back to the community. It's a really big part of my ecosystem, how I evolve and what I do. If I'm ever having a bad day, I always realize if I give, I don't know, it gets better.
Dude,
So
amen to that. Yes.
I'm telling you, it just makes everything better. So one of the most fun recent instances we've done is one of my estimators is part of a church, and the church did this kind of 7-day turnaround for a needy family where they come in, they rip everything out, get all new furniture, everything painted, boom. And so he signed us up to be a part of it, and we did the painting part. So we're supposed to get some help in doing interior and exterior painting, and we in 2 days did a full interior and exterior paint for a needy family in a very great location.
Wow, man. I know, like, oftentimes, I'm going to kind of jump into, like, why do we do these things out of the goodness of our heart? And sometimes there's multiple motives in doing some of this. Sometimes that can be, hey, you give enough, you're going to get enough type scenarios. But, what is that like? What kind of impact do you see from your team when you're like, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to help this family? Like, what does that do to the morale, the motivation, the inspiration? Like, what kind of effects do you see that type of initiative on your team itself?
It tells your team you believe in more than just money, right? I encourage all my people to get involved in a community event, and I tell them, we'll donate money, time, whatever that event needs to be involved in the community event that they want. So then it's their ownership, it's their project, and they feel like they've accomplished something, and you're just there to help them. And it's just to watch somebody, like that house, right? It was terrible. I mean, it was. And to
Yeah.
watch somebody to dive in and get it done, and to see that final result, the pride on their face is immeasurable, right? There's, and if I have to, let's say down the road, I'd fire that person, it's okay because we've developed a relationship that if it comes that it's an understanding, right? That they
Yeah.
know that I like them, love them, and we're part of everything. It just wasn't a good fit. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's multiple reasons to do that, but it really builds that above just dollars, right?
Yeah. There was somebody that once told me they built such a great relationship with some of their team members that if the scenario does come and they have to be let go, that team member almost knows it before we even go into the conversation because they're very clear, kind about the expectations. And when you're clear and kind about those expectations and realize that they're not met, it's not a blindsided conversation. It's this is the standard that we have. I truly care for you as an individual, and this is where we're falling short. And the best scenario for both of us is to move on. And there's not a necessarily a bad thing about that, other than the fact that, I wish it would have worked out, but sometimes it just doesn't. So I definitely appreciate you talking about the relationship that builds, not just necessarily the cred that you get on the street because 360 went and
Oh
painted
yeah.
our house for free and all that kind of stuff. So I love that that's actually a relationship building tool between you and your team members versus just out of the goodness of your heart. So I did forget to mention this. So if anybody's tuning in live and you have questions or anything along those lines for Steven as we go ahead and shoot those in the comments. We don't always get to see who's watching and where they're watching from. So also comment in whether you're watching from Oklahoma or Missouri or wherever you're at, as well as the platform that you're watching on, so that we can give a shout out to you guys for tuning in for this. So, Steven, let's go ahead and kind of jump in. I know we kind of talked to like serial entrepreneur. You've done a lot. You've had your failures as well. There might be certain scenarios with each of those organizations that you want to dive into, but I think the leadership style is where I really want to kind of hone in on what truly makes the companies that you do run more than a business. So maybe dive into a little bit of some of the scenarios or how you've led those organizations to be more than a business.
I think we make it more difficult than it has to be, right? I mean, we're both business owners. Everybody's business owners. What are the three principles of selling a project? Know, like, and trust, right? Period. That's it. It's that simple. They know you, they like you, they trust you.
Yeah.
Well, employees are no different. Are they team members or are they employees? Well, what makes them a team member versus what makes them an employee? A team member, you have a know, like, and trust factor with. So there's a lot of freedom that you can give that person because you are both on the same page. You've already developed a relationship. It's all there. If you're missing any one of those three, just one, if you're just missing one, they're no longer a team member. You can't give them freedom. They are now an employee, right? So you got to decide, are you trying to build employees? Are you trying to build team members and understand what it is? And again, there are good spots for employees, but they take a lot of time. They are a time suck when somebody is just an employee. I think Dave Ramsey said it best. They show up late, they leave early, they steal from you. I mean, that's his motto. And and that was one thing I learned from that is I don't want employees. So how do I make these guys more than employees? And the other part of that equation is transparency. So that's how I build that trust. If somebody's picking up a check for me for a paint job that's $18,000, right? My team member looks at that and he's going, dang, Steve made 18 grand. Wow. But at the end of the year, I share P&Ls with my team and then show, hey, I've got travel, I've got meals, I've got insurance. Oh, I've got marketing costs. I've got this, I've got that. And
Steven knows money.
Eye-opening experience, right? It's an eye-opening experience for them, right? They're business owners. And so I never have to have that conversation because the transparency is there, but it also builds trust. So
let's dive into the concept that you just talked about, employee versus team member. I had somebody that once, like, they absolutely refuse to call anybody in their organization employees because they do truly want the team member side of things. And I think we also think of, like, in that corporate world, we're just an employee, we're just a number, and nobody knows me by name, they just know me by salary, really. So maybe you talked about, know, like, and trust. Can you give us like one nugget or two on like some unique ways that you build that know, like, and trust to make them not an employee and dive in as a team member?
Yeah, like I said, it starts with transparency, but then it also starts with encouraging them, coaching them, which is what I love to do. I love to coach and teach, right? So, for instance, a lot of my guys are subcontractors. So they'll go out on a project on their own and go bid a project, and they'll call me for advice. And I'm going to walk them through how they should bid that project. I want them to be successful. If they're moonlighting for their own selves, I don't care. That's okay, right? Everybody's got to have that side hustle by all means. If you want to make it a business versus that, I'm encouraging that as well. Leave me, grow up, leave me. That's all right. Because if you
All
did
right.
that, then that means you gave me a lot of money, by the time you left me.
Fair,
So,
fair.
that's really that big gap difference is how you handle them and building up their confidence and showing them that you are there for them, not just the dollars.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, man, that's so good. We sit and talk a lot about, how do you build a team, and the words that I'm hearing the most out of you is transparency, which clearly, like, one of the fastest ways to break trust is not being transparent in a lot of things, or hiding things that causes a lot of issues down the road. A buddy of mine we just had on the show not too long ago wrote a book about the issues between um, perceived trust and actual trust within organizations, and there's a quite a
Oh
bit of
yeah.
a gap in between there. So I appreciate you sharing those kind of nuggets. So as somebody is listening and building these organizations, and you have multiple team members, you cannot lose that factor of still having that unique relationship with each of those. And maybe that does get delegated down to other team members or managers within, but making sure that that is maintained throughout the organization is absolutely incredible. So I appreciate you sharing those nuggets there, Stephen. Let's let's dive into you, man. I don't come across a lot of unique individuals like the two of us that are just like, you know what, let's go after it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen type scenarios. So I want to dive into you, man. I know entrepreneurship, I mean, it's cliche, but it is very true. It's the highest highs and some of the lowest lows I have ever experienced in my life. And I don't talk just professionally; I talk personally in that space. So let's talk about you, man. Showing up every single day, getting to serve, blessed to serve the individuals that we get to, that we call team members. What keeps you motivated to show up day in and day out to keep it going, man?
It's so funny, right? So if you'd asked me that question at 19, that answer is going to be entirely different than it was in my 20s, right? 19, if you ask me, I just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and all I wanted was a bunch of businesses to make a bunch of money, right?
Yep,
In my
yep.
20s, I learned that businesses are not that easy to make. There are a lot of problems. So I learned all the heartache over the last better part of a decade in businesses and stuff like that. And so what really helps me show up at work every day is understanding what that felt like to fail, right? What that feels like to feel like you're on an island, right? And not know the best way to go about stuff, right? Or trying to figure out how to pull all this stuff together, right? You need coaches, you need this, everything's just going at you all the time. And so, what I love, like I said, it's really my CRM company, it's really my more passionate part of me now, which
Yeah.
is giving a small business owner a kind of turn the key, boom. They don't have to focus on stuff. They can run a business. So that leg up that I spent over a decade putting together. I love being able to say, here, I'm going to save you so much heartache that you don't even know how much I'm going to help you, because you will not have experienced the stuff that I experienced to understand how to handle customers the way we do. So,
Mm,
giving them that, just, I love that part of that. And then, in the painting business, it's my team, right? Those are the people, the clients in the team. You build those raving clients, those raving fans. I've got drip emails that go out all the time. And, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year check ins. We're not afraid of that. I love that. And I get so many emails back saying, hey, you know what? The project's great. The warranty's going up, but there's no warranty issues. Thank you very much. I refer you to all my friends. And so getting those really kind of, since I've
oh
been in
yeah.
it now almost 8 years, I get several a month, and so it kind of builds my, I don't want to say ego, but makes you feel good, gives you that next
Yeah.
rush to get to that next stage. So you knew you delivered at that area, and everybody went together and delivered. So, and then my team, right? I said, I know their families, I know all about them, their kids, how old they are. I mean, I've seen some of these people grow up. Some of these guys started me when they're
Yeah.
18
Hey,
or
8 years
27.
can be interesting for
So
sure.
yeah, so it's
What I
it's a
love,
split between the two businesses.
well, what I love as I started this, I didn't know what answers I was going to be getting when I started. This is episode number 27. So when we started episode 1, I had no idea what people would be answering. But literally every single person has said the people. That is what motivates me to show up day in and day out. And after a while you start to see, like, okay, if I'm going to build a business that's truly more than a business, if I'm going to be a leader in an organization that's more than a business, the baseline is caring more about the people than necessarily the money that's going in your pocket. Now, I would also argue that everybody wants that money in their pocket. So profit is not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing because you've realized some real value that you in gifts that you've been given to go out and provide value to individuals, organizations. But those individuals care almost as much about the people than anything that would come through to help the bottom line there. So it's just an ongoing theme that it makes me smile because um, I, for the longest time, had a really, really bad relationship with money where I felt that was the value. I felt walking into a room that was the value that I had was the number of zeros that I made. And when all of that gets stripped away, and you know this, like when you start your business, you're not making anything. I felt less of an individual for a long time. And I still feel that way. That
Oh,
doesn't just go away, but I just, I have to lean on my team to feel the true value that we're providing when necessarily the finances aren't always going to be in that space. So it makes me smile on that side, dude. I want to dive into the CRM side of things. I know we talked about like we're not going to necessarily talk about the CRM thing, but I think it's just really important for individuals, whether those are small business owners or entrepreneurs getting started. Like you've hit a nerve with me in the sense of it's hard. It is incredibly hard. There's 5,000 things you want to accomplish in a single day, and you know you can probably really only knock out three really, really good. Maybe the other ones you kind of get halfway. So, um, just to relieve the stress that those individuals feel that they can continue to run a company that is more than a business and care for their team members, like what are some of the things that the CRM is able to do to relieve and get rid of that maybe some stress and clouded mind that they might have throughout that journey?
so I mean, a CRM, like that's really the difference between an individual and a business, right? That's really that first step. And you know, here's the deal. Let's say somebody's running a business. How many people have their and I know this is very legitimate. Very few people. Everybody has processes, but very few have them written down somewhere. Now, even
Yeah,
out of the ones that have processes written down, you know how many people actually measure those processes? Even less
even
measured
fewer.
whether or not that process is clear. So what a CRM and a good CRM do will help you put in processes that are automated, right? How many times should the client be called? How many times should they be followed up with? Oh, and now how do we manage to make sure that the team member does what they're supposed to do, right? So now we can manage it and oversee it. I mean, I've seen $1 million company asking for processes, and they just kind of give me a general scope, right? It's not
This is what
document.
we
It's not a
do.
boom, boom, boom. It's just a basic one-page document. And you know what I do with that, with my years of experience, I'll take that and I craft them processes. That's what I love doing. Like I said, I've been, studied so many books about processes and how to do it. And so that's what a CRM will do. It instills processes and oversight and ensures a client goes through a consistent funnel, right? They get consistent communication, what you need them to understand. And you know what? You know that client A, B, and C, no matter what state they went in, they got the same communication and it was correct. So that is what a CRM will do for you. And it'll also help you see what's going on between your team and your clients if it's a good one. I don't know too many who actually allow you to see that, but it can, a good one does.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that just kind of hones in on the importance of as you're building that business, being able to build a business that can operate itself versus um, you being the front end, the back end, all the ends to where, if you go, so does the business. So as an engineer in systems and processes, like that is definitely top of mind. Admittedly, after hearing your pitch there, I think I've got some areas I can improve on for sure, especially the measurables. That's a tough one. That is the tough one for sure. Awesome,
If you
man. Well,
measure, it
we
gets
have,
managed. That's it.
that is, that let's talk. How do you keep team members engaged? How do you keep those individuals accountable? What they want to see is all of those things that you just mentioned too. So I think all of that continues to go into building a business that is truly more than a business. So, Stephen, man, we've kind of reached towards the end of the show here, but if anybody's interested in just kind of hearing more about your leadership skills or maybe some of your businesses, or just in general, just kind of hearing more about your story and journey as an entrepreneur, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So I'm going to do two plugs here real quick. First,
Yeah.
like I said, I always love to give to charity. So if you know of a 501c3 who's needing a CRM, I love to take on a couple a year to give them a free CRM, get them all set up, get them running, send them on their way. So if anybody
Awesome.
knows a 501c3 that needs a CRM, I'd love to chat with them, see if we can help them out and give them something unique, special at no cost. Um,
Awesome.
and
All right.
then
You heard it
obviously
here.
the
If
best
you
way to
see
get
that,
hold of
make
me
it in the
is,
comments or shoot me a message and I'll get you hooked up with Steven.
and then the other one is just my LinkedIn or my email, which is my first name, Steven at tmoturbo.com. So
Awesome. Well, I'll also echo the fact that if anybody reaches out to me, I'll go ahead and get you connected with Steven as well. So, part of this show, Steven, my wife and I, when we started this business, was truly to go out and help and serve individuals. And we just, as a way to show our own gratitude and appreciation for your time on this show, providing value to those that jumped in here to hear you and will hear you down the road. We want to allow you to send a meal to a team member or a client or even community member, but if you've got anybody in mind on who you would want to send that to, and as much or as little detail as you'd like to give about why you want to do that, we'd love to hear maybe a little bit about that.
I absolutely. So I'm going to send it to my admin, Jenny, right? So she is she is the really soul of my business, right? Your administrative person is your soul of your business, really.
Oh
But
yeah.
the thing that makes her so great is that, it's that, like we're talking about transparency, that ability. It's so great when those things come uphill, right? So we were in a
Mhm.
really big slump a couple of years ago, and I had to look at her and say, man, Jen, I really like you. You've done a great job. But look, I can't afford you at this price, right? I can't keep doing it. So either need you to take a pay cut, and who likes to have that conversation? Well, I was up for days before I had that conversation, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
or I need to let you go. And I understand both. If you whichever direction, I will respect it. It's just business. You're a fantastic person, and no, she was on board. I gave her three options. She picked the lowest option, didn't complain, worked for the next 3 or 4 months, helping us get everything right, fix all the problems that we caused, and got her back up to where she was. But just
Love that.
without like I said, just coming back up, it's hard to explain how awesome that feels when team members will
Mm,
take a cut in their pay, take less money, or do something for free.
that's a team member,
Most
not an
businesses aren't going to
employee.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most businesses do not see that. I
Oh
mean, when I was an employee, you couldn't get me go do free
no,
stuff. Are you kidding? No.
me, I'm out. Yeah. Wow, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Pay cut? No, sir. Nope.
that just goes to show the relationship building piece of the know, like, and trust. She clearly trusted you, and what decisions you were needing to make was not just because it was for a good reason. And it probably sounds like there was very transparent conversations, and this is where we're at, and this is where we need to get. And in order to do that, here's what has to happen. Are you along for the ride or not? Type of scenario. So,
Yep. And
um,
like I said, you said it earlier, the highs and lows, and we were at a low.
oh man, yeah. Let's not talk about those right now. Awesome. Hey, Steven, man, I appreciate that. I look forward to being able to connect with Jenny. You said Jenny, right?
Yep.
Connect with her and get that out to her at a time that works well, and just genuine gratitude and appreciation for the work that she does. So, thank you so much for coming on this show, man. Just as our audience is kind of tuning in, we're back every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So, always really appreciate each and every one of our guests that come in and just provide additional nuggets and value in these conversations after we get to have with these executives, these leaders, these business owners, and HR folks. It does truly inspire me to have these conversations with individuals like you, Stephen. So I greatly appreciate it. Do you have any last words you want to tell the audience or anything?
I think the one thing to success is just do it. Right. And that the story, right? You just go out and do it. So that's you just start. So
I wish I had my card
that's the only advice I can
here.
give you.
I have a personal notes that I honestly I should probably start writing those again. I haven't done it in a little bit, but on the back side of it, it was do it now, in the sense of there is no better time to go out and do it now. Worst case scenario is you're right back where you started. And I would be willing to argue that you've learned something through that. So you'll never actually start off again where you left off. So I appreciate that. Just go and do it. Do it now, whatever it looks like. Just go out and do it and see what works, because you'll be surprised with the opportunities that, what if it does work? Like, what kind of things can happen if it does work is really, really exciting for me to think about versus what could potentially happen. So, Man, we're going to leave it with that. We'll be back here next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be bringing on Alexander Mechanical is going to be jumping on here talking about the work that they've done. I'm really excited. I used to work with them several years ago in the construction space. So looking forward to having them on the show and chatting a little bit more on what truly makes their organization more than a business. But Steven, man, hey, I appreciate the transparency, the conversation. And for our audience, until next time, I just hope that you'll continue to strengthen those relationships, showing gratitude and appreciation in whatever way that looks. So until then, we will talk to you guys later.